Think I figured it out. Can you hear me? I can't hear you. Hi, cutie. Hi, cutie. All right, I think we are live. I think things are going finally. I couldn't get it to start right. It was not doing what it was supposed to do for a minute. Look from headphones, but guess I'll be all right. We're waiting on Evan to join. I still can't hear you. Talk again. Still can't hear you. Is your oh, hold on. Okay, now talk.
Check. 1, 2.
I got you.
Okay, you turned me. I think you turned me off.
I think I did. I think I muted it. We're good. Just waiting for people to populate, and then we'll waiting for Evan. I don't know where Evan is. It's crazy doing the idea that we're live right now, but yet the show really hasn't started yet. Bananas. We are live. It looks good. It's crazy doing. All right. All right, I'm gonna give it just a couple more seconds, and we're gonna start. I guess Evan's not going to join us.
Is he not?
I don't know. He's not on here yet. So
He replied earlier. Between you and the dog.
Can you hear the dog?
Yeah.
He's drinking water. Is that how it goes?
Yeah.
I'm so goofy. Look how cute with your glasses on.
Yeah, I wanted to be able to see.
All right, well, if Evan shows up, I guess. Guess we'll start, I guess. We're going to start like here in 1 second. Me and you got to go. Come on. Come on. You got to go in there. Come on. Come on. Okay. All right. All right, we're going to go ahead and start.
Okay.
Guess Evan's not coming. I don't know if he is or not, but we'll see.
Oh. What was that?
All right. Okay, here we go. I'm going to start. Actually, hold on. I'm going to get my headphones. Although I don't know where they are. It's fun. Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Good. All right, here we go. Going to start. All right. Hello, welcome to Pursuit Podcast. My name is Pastor Mike Hofer, and today I am joined by
Kristen Hofer.
my lovely wife, Kristen, is with us. Our other two guys, Noah Barfield is needing to take the summer off. He is investing in the lives of his interns. He has 6 interns this summer, which is really cool.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a lot, especially for him. This is his first full-time ministry position, and so for him to have to develop and lead 6 new interns, it's a lot for him. And I have all the confidence in the world that Noah will make that happen and be really good at it. But because of that, he couldn't join us on Tuesday nights anymore. He'll have to wait until after the end of the summer, which is fine. He'll come back and get with us. Evan Amone, I don't know where he is. He's MIA today. Not sure where he's at. But to be honest and to be fair with Evan, he has a lot of new life stuff going on too. New job, just got married.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of new life stuff going on. So I bet he'll probably join us at some point tonight. He's not with us right now.
Are you doing that?
I did. That was me. I'm sure he'll join us eventually. So if he does, I'll enter him into the show. And today's gonna be fun. We're gonna talk about some real heavy stuff today. Our lead pastor, Pastor Derek Shields, the lead pastor of Christ Community Church, Columbus, Georgia, is going to be joining us here a little bit later on in the show. He is African-American pastor who pastors a beautifully diverse church here in Columbus that I am the student ministries pastor for. My wife leads, Miss Kristen leads worship there, is on the worship team, leads the youth worship, mentors young women at that church. And so Pastor Derek's going to join us here in a little bit. We're going to talk about what should the church's response, and not just Christ Community Church, but what is the church global, the big church, what should our response be to this whole racial tension in the country and racial tension around the world, and the idea that we are called as Christ followers to racial reconciliation. And so we're going to talk through that a little bit with Pastor Derek. That'll be fun a little later on in the show. So I want to talk a little bit about what's been going on in life. Chrissy, what have you been doing? What's up with your life? What's been going
on? Working.
Working? Back to work now? That's fun.
Yeah, working a lot. Our schedule just changed, so we work from the moment we get there till about 3 o'clock-ish. Like, we don't really stop anymore. So so it's been a little different this week. We just started it yesterday. It's been new. I don't know. Gardening. Chickens.
Oh yeah, the Hofer fam has chickens now, which is hilarious to me.
Yeah.
I grew up in the city and did everything I could as a child to get away from farming. My dad and his family all are farmers for as far back as you can trace. The Hofer lineage, they're all farmers. And I tried my best to get away from farming as a kid. I baled hay with my Uncle Bobby for a while. And remember when we were really young, 9, 10 years old, we had a farm out at my Uncle Billy's house. And we'd all have to go out there and like pick weeds and do stuff that I never wanted to do again ever in my life. Told my Uncle Bobby one day when I was like 17, said, I will go to college and get a job where I can sit in an air conditioner every day, all day, because I hate this. And so I did everything I could to get away from farming. And now we have our own little urban farm with chickens, and it's kind of come back full circle, which is fun.
Yes. I mean, I like to do that kind of thing. I like to be outside. So, didn't have chickens as a kid, but sure enough, shoveled enough cow poop. So I'm good. I'm good. No, I've had my experience.
No thanks. I don't want to shovel any cow poop. I did take care of some stables of horses for a while because one summer my Uncle Bobby, instead of paying us, bought us. Well, he paid us some, but mostly our money went towards buying a horse. And so my cousin Billy and I both had horses, and we would have to go and shovel and muck the stalls and stuff sometimes. My favorite part was Uncle Bobby had a bull, a big old bull, and the game was to see who could touch the bull's forehead without getting run over. That was our game. And
I wouldn't be playing that game.
Because bulls don't turn real well. They don't like turn 90-degree angles. They jump, but they don't turn.
Yeah.
And so if you did it from the side and you hit him and ran around him, he couldn't get you. But if you like hit him and tried to run, he would run after you, and that was kind of the fun part.
I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, I guess school is a big part of what I'm doing right now. I am on my 3rd class in the last few months. I have not had a break from school since January, first part of January, because this semester, I decided to take multiple classes back to back to back. And so I've been doing that since January. And right now I'm in a really cool class called Preaching the Life of Jesus. And we're talking through, like, what does it mean? How do we write sermons based on the Gospels, basically, is what it was. We're supposed to go to Jerusalem. We're supposed to go to Israel with this class, and we were going to get a chance to preach a message at the spot the message came from. And I don't know how to explain that really well, but basically, give you an example. I was told to preach a message about baptism, and it was going to be at the Jordan River where Jesus was baptized. And so that would have been my sermon for that trip. But because of COVID and everything going on, we weren't able to go to Israel. They have us slated to go next year if we still want to go. So I don't know if that's going to happen or not. We'll see. I don't know what's going to happen next month, let alone next year. So we'll see what happens there. Yeah, so we got a lot going on. The Hofer fam has a lot going on.
Yeah.
This week we wanted to do one of our joy moments of the week. And so I just want to throw it out there. And do you have, what was your joy moment of the week this week, Kristen?
Probably, I think Sunday morning. That's what first comes to my mind. Being able to go. I know this was our second week back in the sanctuary of our church, and it was really good. It was just really good to be there.
Yeah.
And I felt like Pastor Derek's message was amazing. It was really, really good, and I got a lot from it. So I'm gonna say that.
Yeah, going back to church was definitely a big one. Our church, Christ Community Church, had I guess it would have been was that our first service? Second service.
Yeah.
Since COVID-19 and the stay-at-home order. We had our second service this past week, and we had 150 people there, which is not a lot for our church. But as far as like going back since COVID has started, I thought that was a pretty good number. Our second week back, we're in this 3-phase back to church reentry program right now, and we just hit phase 2 last Sunday. And so I think it was good. It was healthy. Got to see a lot more new other faces that I haven't seen in a while, which was fun, which was good. So yeah, I would second that motion that was definitely a good joy moment.
Yeah.
Of the week. A couple other things that I've just really enjoyed seeing this week. And first of all, I want to say, I think John Krasinski owes us some money.
Why?
He started his show.
Oh, that what's that called?
Some Good News, SGN.
Yeah, I haven't watched it.
And we've been kind of doing that for 2 years now. We started our joy moment of the week, and it was kind of the good news, some good news before some good news was a thing. And so I think he owes us some royalties, because I think I just read that he actually just sold that brand to some corporation, and
Really?
they're going to actually start producing a show, like a weekly show titled Some Good News. And it's going to be the same format. They're going to talk about good things that have been happening throughout the world, and it's still going to be kind of a cool show. And I don't know if he's going to be attached or not. Like, is he going to host it? But
I like him.
He did sell his brand to some corporation, which
that's Jack Ryan.
Cool. That is Jack Ryan. You're right. And so for me, I guess our interns started, and just getting to hang out with Noah and seeing Tim, our son, be an intern is very interesting for me. That's an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, you get to see it. I don't really get to see it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very cool to watch him do his thing. Like today at our staff meeting, and this is my joy moment of the week. We all drew names out of like a bowl, and there's 20 something of us in there with the 10 interns. Oh, there's probably 30, close to 30 people in our staff meeting right now, because we have, I think, 18 on staff right now, and there are 10 interns. And so all of us are in the sanctuary together, and we all had to draw a name out of a bowl. And then you have to get up at the microphone, and you have to say something good about this person. Like, what do you think about when you think about this person? And it's based off of basically like all of Paul's letters. He starts out, or he talks about, when I think about you, I pray for, and this brings to my mind. And so we read those scriptures, and then we shared something about each person. And it was really cool to see, like, just the idea that saying something good about people is always a good idea. And so we all got to say something about somebody, and it was cool because some people started out like narrative preaching style where they just started telling a story, and then so you had to kind of figure out who it was by the end. And then some people just went up there and went, "Oh, I have this person," and then told about it, which was also cool. But for me, Pam Bone had me, and she starts talking about me, and then she said, "And this person cooks," and everybody was like,
Mike.
"Yeah, that's Pastor Mike." And so it was kind of cool. And then Tim actually went last, which
Whoa.
is not shocking to people if you know Tim, because he doesn't like to get up in front of people and talk. But he went last, and he actually had his best friend's name, and his best friend is Noah Owens, who we had on the show last week, our intern, my intern. And Tim gets up and he says, "I have Noah Owens." And he said, "Noah's a very fun person to be around. He just brings so much joy into my life." And then he said, "I have one Noah story." And I go, "Uh-oh." Because with those boys, you never know what they're going to talk about. And so but he told a really cool story. He just said that when they were at the beach on their intern orientation week, that's our interns get to go to the beach for a week before they start their internship and get to know each other. And they do some coaching and some leadership development. It's a really cool part of the program. And he said when they were at the beach, the waves were really big. And he said one time Noah was standing in the waves, and him and Noah were standing in the waves. And Noah just goes, here it comes this big Tim said 8 or 9 foot wave. And I don't know if that's true or not, but he said this 8 or 9 foot wave just rushes over Noah, and he stands firm, and he just goes, "Oh yeah." And he said that to me is an example of the fact that Noah is ready for life to rush over him and just embrace what life has to offer. And I thought that was really cool to hear Tim kind of put that little story together and kind of have a point to it. And so that happened. That was my joy moment of the week, just seeing that happen and watch that go on. And so we to be able to see those things is always fun. Yeah. So I love the fact that I get to see those things happen in our son's life and share them with you and the world on our live show.
Yeah, because you know what? If I asked him, he never would have told me that story.
No. He'd say, it was good.
It was good.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah. It was cool.
I did ask him actually, and I got nothing of the sort. So
I'm sure. Yeah. Yeah. Well, one thing we'll talk about in this show, like I said, Pastor Derek's going to join us in a few minutes, and the whole theme of today is this idea of humility. And the reason why I brought up humility is we're in this season of racial tension with the murder of George Floyd and Aubrey and what happened there, where the guys from Georgia chased him down and hit him with their truck apparently, and also killed him, hunted him like he was an animal, and other things that's happened throughout the last few years. And it just seems like we continue to have this happen, and it's kind of at a boiling point now. We're in about a week long of protests, and we're going to be a part of one this Saturday. We're going to go down in the downtown area of Columbus, here in Columbus, Georgia, and do a peaceful march. We're going to march around downtown, across the bridge, over in Alabama a little bit, and then come back around downtown. And it's going to be a peaceful protest and just kind of get our voice heard that we believe that there needs to be some reform in the justice system. There needs to be some reform in the policing of America, and especially as it appears and pertains to the African American community, that they need to be treated as equals. And right now, I don't think they are. And so, with all of that happening, I see all the time on like Facebook, social media, whatever, that the lack of humility in a lot of people, and I'm going to speak mainly to my white friends, my Anglo friends, um, the lack of humility that's shown in a lot of us, and a lot of them are people that call themselves Christ followers, when dealing with this matter is what is worrisome to me the most. And to me, it's never more apparent. The lack of humility to me is never more apparent when somebody gets online and they say all lives matter. Mm-hmm. To me, that shows no concern with humility at all. Yeah. Because it takes the focus off of this one people group who has been disenfranchised and oppressed and stolen from their country all those many years ago, and it puts it on me. Right. I said, "Oh, Black Lives Matter. Oh, Black Lives Matter, but all lives matter." That takes that the lack of humility in that statement to me is basically a slap in the face, not only to my African American brothers and sisters, but to me, like as a Christ follower who's called to be humble, and it bothers me that that's where we go with this. Right. And I heard it said that yeah, we understand all lives matter. It would be kind of like me coming home and I heard Michael Shea say this. He's a comedian, head writer for one of the co-head writers for Saturday Night Live, and his comedy has some language in it, just to put that out there. So it's probably not something you want to go on Google, but if you're a teenager and your parents don't want you to see that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But he says this, and this is a poignant statement, but he says as a comedian, it's funny, but he said it would be like me coming home and telling you, my wife, and you saying to me, "Oh, Mike, I love you," and then you saying, "Do you love me?" And I go, "Well, of course, honey. I love everybody. I love all God's creatures." And that to me is what it's like when we say, "Yeah, Black Lives Matter, but all lives matter." There shouldn't be a but. There should not be a but there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and until Black lives do matter on the same level as white lives, then we can't say all lives matter.
Right.
And so I would love to see us regather that idea of humility, that even if I don't agree, even if I don't necessarily see the reason for this Black Lives Matter movement, as a Christian, I should at least listen with humility. I should at least lean in to my African American brothers and sisters with humility and say, there's something here I can learn. What is it? And focus on what can I do to make it better as a Christ follower. And so I've really been concerned with the lack of humility in a lot of my Anglo and white Christian brothers and sisters. Mm-hmm. And I'd love to see us get back to that idea of being humble in our mindset. What do you think about that?
I
know that's a hard question, but
that is a hard question because you know how I am, and I agree with everything you say, with what you're saying, mm-hmm. completely. I don't know. I think I'm just really, really overwhelmed with the whole situation. Like I don't really know what to do with it at this point because I don't know. I think of the situations, like all the things that happen with George Floyd and Aubrey, and I don't understand it. Like I think part of me wants to understand why. What made those people do those things? I don't know. I think I'm more like angry, and so
by those people you mean like the two guys that killed Aubrey and the police? Why do they act the way they do sometimes? And
right, like what in them gave them the reason to do what they did? I don't understand it. How could you not like someone or some people group so much that you felt like it was okay for you to do those things? I don't know. I'm just so like I don't know what to think about it, to be honest with you. It
Right.
really does make me angry. Um, and I am ashamed a little bit because
Mhm.
of the color of my skin. Like, our people should not ever do that. Like, no one should ever do that. And we should all be, I'm just ashamed for the way
Yeah.
that our society is acting right now. And so
Hmm.
I'm just trying to stay quiet.
Yeah.
I,
I think that's, but I think there's some humility in silence right now, and not silence like we shouldn't speak out, because silence is also, um, we shouldn't be silent, especially if it's something that's oppressive. And God is for the voiceless. God is for the oppressed. God is for the marginalized. God is for those who need help. And so, as Christ followers of the church, we should be for those people too.
right, right.
And so, silence is probably not the right
No,
um, posture, but listening is the right posture,
exactly.
and hearing our brothers and sisters at this point is the right posture. And so
Exactly.
I want to read some scripture, and it's Philippians 2:3-4 is what I'm going to read. And it just says this: don't be selfish. Don't try to impress others. Sometimes I think when we get into this argument, and not argument, but this discussion about
Right.
race, we oh my gosh, I've seen so many people take so many things out of context
Oh,
and,
sure.
and put them out there. And I don't know what it is about Christ followers sometimes that we want to be right
Mm,
so much. We want to be gatekeepers, and we want to be right, and we want to prove our point.
yeah.
When nowhere in the Gospels do I see that. Like, nowhere in Jesus's life do I see him wanting to be right. I
Right.
see him wanting to be righteous. That's different. And so, to me, it's well, a pastor one day, a Methodist pastor, said to me, he said, "Would you rather be right or righteous?" And
Mm,
that has always stuck with me. And I don't get it right all the time. A lot of times I want to be right. Um, and you don't need to say amen on that. But my wife knows that sometimes I have an issue with wanting to be right all the time. But
so,
I'm right a lot. It's weird how right I am all the time.
well, the part of the problem with that is that you think that you're always right a lot. So, you know,
The shoe fits.
of course you would be right a lot.
If the shoe fits. No. But I do think sometimes as Christ followers, we want to be right so much when we're really called to be righteous. And I think sometimes we get truth confused with hubris, like trying to be like, there's okay with talking about truth, but when we start to be hubris about the truth, when we start to put ourselves over the truth,
Is that
is
what?
when I think we have a, yeah, hubris. Yeah, yeah. I think that's where we run into issues. But Paul says, um, here in Philippians, don't be selfish. Don't try to impress others. Be humble,
Mhm.
thinking of others as better than yourselves. And see, that's where I think we have this issue with the all lives matter statement, is
Yeah.
that we're thinking, well, if your life matters, then my life matters. And we want to throw this statement out there. And it's not a false statement. Of course, all lives matter. We know that.
Right.
But in this time in history, like right now, we need our African American brothers and sisters to know that we are for them because God is for them.
Right.
And so that's why we say
But
Black
it's
Lives Matter.
rather selfish. I
Yeah, it's
mean,
very selfish.
we're already selfish as it is, and now you make it about yourself all over again. So
Right,
it, that's what I mean by being ashamed. Like I don't know.
right. And so then Paul goes on and says, don't look out only for your own interests, but take an interest in others too.
Mhm.
And so there's this idea of just being humble, that I think a lot, we would do a lot of good to the culture right now as a church, as a Christ following movement, to get back to being humble,
Yeah.
and not trying to be right all the time, but being righteous. And
to pray for humility and a chance to just listen, because listening does take humility. Listening, even when you think you have the answer, even when you're like, oh, I know what to tell this person, but listening, it takes humility. And so I would love to see us get back to that idea of being humble Christ followers, and putting other people above ourselves, instead of just thinking we're always got to be right. Like we got to be the one who's right all the time. And so, yeah, that was kind of our topic for today, is this idea of being humble and being people of humility.
It's hard.
Yeah, it is tough. It is tough. And I want to pray for that.
Today's world, it's just hard because we're taught, when you go into a job interview, you're supposed to like put yourself out there and talk about yourself and, pump yourself up and all that. And so being humble is completely, well, you can do that and be humble at the same time, but it's so pushed on you to be confident that I think that it's gone way, way over the top.
Yeah, for sure. So to kind of sum it up, I think if we would get back to being people of humility, to being humble people. I heard it said, and I've heard people quote this before, that humility is not thinking less of yourself. Like, we don't have to be ashamed. We don't have to think less of who we are, but it's thinking about yourself less,
right,
and thinking about others more. That's humility. So I wanted to spend some time praying for that idea. Just asking God to make us humble, and to give us humility in this season of our life and of our culture. And then we're going to take just like a 1 minute break, and then we'll be bringing Pastor Derek Shields into the show here in just a few minutes. And we have some questions to ask Pastor Derek, and I want to glean from his wisdom tonight. And so let's pray, and then we'll take a 1 minute break, and then we'll come back. Father God, I just thank you for your word. Thank you for the fact that we're created in your image. All of us, all people who've ever been created are created in your image. Father, give us, the Anglo-white American church members, Christ followers, the humility to know that we need to stand in the gap for our brothers and sisters, those who are feeling oppressed and angry and hurt and broken. Help us to stand in the gap, Father God, for them. Not to think less of ourselves, but to think about ourselves less. And Father, may your kingdom be glorified. May the broken be whole. May those who do not know you be transformed into children, men and women of God. And Father, we give you all the glory, and your kingdom be glorified first. May your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right, we're going to take 1 minute break. Hold on, I'll be right back. All right, back. We're back. Pursuit Table Talk.
So good at slamming doors.
I know it sounds so loud. I know. I see Pastor Derek is here with us. I don't see his face, but I'm
Did
gonna
he
try
try
to
to
bring him in. I'm gonna try to bring him in and see what happens, and then if we have to fix it, we can do that as well.
Okay.
Let's see what happens here. Pastor Derek, can you hear us?
I can.
You can, yeah. I can't. We can't see you. I don't know if your
You
camera.
can't see me?
Uh-uh.
Uh,
So somehow your camera is off.
ooh.
Ooh.
Who knows?
You want me to try to come back in?
Yeah, if you want to sign out and then come back in and see if that works. So we'll give Pastor Derek just a second to try to sign back in.
I think it's funny how it just goes. Boop.
Yeah, it's gone. Like it's gone. This is the fun part about having a live show. You just never know what's going to happen. You can see him? That's funny. Jennifer's watching the show and she said she could see him. Oh, there he is. I can see him now.
Oh, that's so weird.
I know it is weird. It's
I couldn't see him.
There he is, Pastor
All right.
Derek.
Okay.
No.
Welcome, Pastor Derek, to the show. It's funny. Jennifer, our friend Jennifer's watching the show live, and she said she could see you, but we couldn't see you. I don't know what that was all about.
Hey, all
Technology,
it takes is a little flick of a button, and
I know it's crazy. Evan, the first show we did, we couldn't see Evan, or we couldn't hear Evan, and we could see him, and then he would have to sign back out and sign back in, and so you just never know with technology. It's crazy. So Pastor Derek, we thank you for coming on the show tonight, and we've been talking a little bit here already about this idea of racial reconciliation and how the church can lean into that, both the global church and our church at Christ Community Church in Columbus, Georgia. And I told a little story earlier about you and how you are the lead pastor at Christ Community Church in Columbus, Georgia. And it's a beautifully racially diverse church, not only just racially, but just a diverse church, period, socioeconomically, education, everything across the board. We're a pretty diverse church, which I love, is one of the things that attracted me to Christ Community Church. And so I want to ask you this question. How did you get to Christ Community Church? Kind of tell us a little bit about your journey to becoming the lead pastor at Christ Community, because I love that story. I just think it's a great story.
Okay. Well, first of all, let me thank you and Pastor Mike and Kristen for the opportunity to be here on Pursuit Table Talk.
Yeah.
Want to say hello to all of the listeners out there that are listening in. It's a great pleasure to be with you all. So you asked, how did I come to be at Christ Community Church? And
yes, sir.
As I think about that question, it started really because God called me to the church. My wife Andrea and I were, it was about 15, 16 years ago. I can't remember exactly when, but it was when God was really really showing me, and I saw signs everywhere around me that I needed to pursue ministry. I didn't know exactly what that looked like. And literally one morning, we were riding up I-185, talking to each other about where should we go.
Mm-hmm.
The place we were, God had made it clear that wasn't the place for us to be and for me to pursue this call in the ministry. And we got near the Macon Road exit, and we both just said, well, what about Christ Community Church? Isn't it over there somewhere? Never been before. We'd never been before. And so we had both been exposed or had met some people at the church through another experience. And so we went and we walked in the doors that day. And it just felt like that was where God had called us to be.
Amen. That's good.
And, a lot of people were surprised that we were there because we were very invested and involved in our previous location. and was asking us, what are y'all, why are you here? I mean, people literally asked us, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
And we didn't have a good answer. But shortly after that, we began to meet some people in the church, met Pastor Keith, who's Bishop Keith now, and a relationship started.
Mm.
A relationship started between Keith and I, between Keith, Pam, and Andrea, my wife, and others in the church. And I began just volunteering at the church event first in Celebrate Recovery Ministry. And over the years, just started to continue to get more involved, and finally came on staff. And then it just led to when Pastor Keith, God called him somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And then I found myself being considered for the lead role, and speed the story up, here I am.
Yeah,
So,
that's right. I love that part of your story where, I mean, you were just a volunteer in the pews, as they say. We don't have pews, but you were
Right.
just a volunteer in the church. You just a member of the church, just actively involved, and God just continued to call you deeper into your calling, and then you became on staff. Then you went to executive pastor, and then God put you in the lead pastor role, and you are absolutely the right guy for this season of Christ Community Church. And I love that story. Just the fact that you just follow God. Like, hey, I'm in.
Yeah.
Where are we going? And you ended up being in the first chair, as they say, for this season, which is really cool.
And just to be transparent, I wasn't just following obediently all the time. I had a lot of questions about this journey, like, what in the world is this?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so it was a
100%.
lot of give and take there.
Yeah,
but it's been a great ride, and it still is a great ride.
yeah.
I mentioned earlier, we have a beautifully diverse church, and I'm proud to be in this role, and just really, it's something that I have always been attracted to, and never really seen it like I've seen it here. And we're just beginning. We're just scratching the surface.
Yeah. And I tell people all the time, and this is not just mouth service because I'm on staff there. I tell people all the time, we're not a perfect church, but we are the kind of church everybody says they want to be. Like, and by that I mean transparent and authentic, and we really lean into trying to be racially diverse and reflect our community.
Right.
And all of those things are reflected in our staff, they're reflected in the people that sit in the seats every Sunday morning, they're reflected in our leadership and all that stuff, man. It's not just lip service at Christ Community. It's the real deal. I mean, you guys preach it and talk it. Well, us now, I'm part of it, but
absolutely.
And I love that about our church.
Yeah.
So we want to ask you a few questions tonight on the show. The theme for the show tonight is just humility in the face of adversity, basically. And so we wanted to talk about this idea of racial reconciliation. As we all know, our country's going through this season where things have kind of reached a fever pitch. The African American community, more than any other, has just kind of gotten to this point where over the years they've been oppressed and taken advantage of and hurt, and even to the point of being killed in the streets. And it's time for a change. I mean, it's past time for a change. And so we wanted to bring you in and just get your insight on some of that. And we just got a few questions that we want to ask. And we've given you the questions ahead of time, but we're going to go ahead and ask them so the people out there will be able to hear them too.
Okay.
And I think Kristen has the first question.
I do. So, Pastor Derek, what do you feel is an appropriate response from the church, not just CCC, but the church global, to the racial inequality in our country?
Oh, that's a great question, and complex on many levels. But let me take a stab at it. I think, the recent death of George Floyd has has caused all of this, what you alluded to earlier, Mike, or Pastor Mike, with just the turmoil that's going on. But there's something different about this
Hmm.
season
I
we're
agree.
in. Several years ago, we went through this with um, Philando Castile and
Hmm.
Ferguson and
Right.
the police officers that were killed in Dallas.
Hmm.
But there's something different about this particular season we're in now.
Mhm.
And so, and I think that is that it's literally when you hear a man say, I can't breathe, and when
Hmm.
you hear people saying, get your knee off his neck,
Hmm.
it's almost like this is the cry that people of color have been calling out for many years.
I agree.
Get your knee off of my neck.
Hmm.
And in my estimation, what I've observed is that for maybe the first time that so many people in a dominant position are listening. The visual is undeniable.
Hmm.
And I think what has happened and what is the appropriate response from the church is to just listen.
Hmm.
Listen to that cry. I
Hmm.
can't breathe. Hear the
Amen.
cry. Just hear that cry. Don't 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 try to counter it. Don't try to explain it away.
Hmm.
Sincerely listen to a cry of a man who's saying, I can't breathe. Hear
Yeah.
the cry of the people in the audience that says, hey, you don't need to do that. You don't have to do that. I think that's what's happening here. And I think for the church, the church, not just the church global, I think we're seeing this happening. And it's appropriate that people just need to listen.
Hmm.
This theme of humility tonight, um, very appropriate,
Hmm.
because if you listen when you value someone else's voice above your own,
Hmm.
when we have been a country of people who pride ourselves on being able to have an opinion,
Mm.
figure it out,
Mhm.
explain it away. That's and humility says I'm just going to be quiet and I'm going to listen and learn.
Mm.
So I think the church, I think that's a posture that that's appropriate for the church to respond, is to listen and learn.
Mm. That's
And
good.
so that would be my initial response to that initial question.
Yeah.
Um,
I love it. The idea of listening and learning. That's been my posture through this whole thing, and just the idea that we can learn a lot just by listening to those who have experienced it and learn from that experience.
Mhm.
And so, and I would agree with you 100%. I think this is different. Like what's happening right now is totally different. I can't quite put my finger on it, but I really believe that real change is going to come out of this season, and I hope it comes um, to those who feel like they haven't had a voice for so long.
yeah.
So I agree with that. The second question for us is, what do you feel is the call for Christ Community Church in this area of racial reconciliation?
Yeah.
One of the things I love about our leadership is we do respond as a church to these vital areas, and so I just wanted to ask that question.
Yeah. Um, yeah. Very good point. That's one thing that I have loved about our church when I was in a volunteer role, as well as I was in various roles of leadership in the church. One thing that we consistently did was that we led in the area of racial reconciliation by
Mm-hmm.
not dodging the issue,
Yep.
by bringing things to the light, by having the will, enough willpower or enough conviction to, I alluded to Philando Castile and
Mm-hmm.
Ferguson and all that. When that happened several years ago, um, we took a position. Myself, my wife, um, Pastor Keith at the time, and his wife Pam. We came to the front of the sanctuary. We altered. We changed the service that Sunday
Mm.
to address this.
Mhm.
To call our church to prayer. And that wasn't I wasn't a lead pastor then. So
Mhm.
I was executive pastor. I could kind of do that and go back to my role behind the scenes,
Mhm.
and that taught me something because our lead pastor at the time, Pastor Keith, had the courage enough to address this, and it's not always a popular thing to do.
Right.
Um, we're a diverse church, but we have various backgrounds and various interests and
Mhm.
leanings towards um, certain beliefs. So
Mhm.
anytime you do something like that, you run the risk of offending some.
Mhm.
But if you're going to be a diverse church and you're going to be for all people that are in your congregation, you have to take these kind of stands,
Mhm.
and you have to make sure like when we did that, we prayed for not only the victims that had the African American victims, but we prayed for the families of the police officers. You
Mhm.
have to do both.
That's right.
You can't be one-sided with this.
Mhm.
Um, so I would say we have to continue. Christ community, we need to continue to do this, to take the lead in addressing things. And I'll be quite honest, as an African American pastor, um, it's I'm very cautious, not
Mhm.
cautious. I'm aware.
Mhm.
Aware that some people may feel like I'm using my position for an agenda.
Yes.
So that's been something that I've been very aware of, even as I was being considered. And once I was named, that's something I've always thought about, and now it's here. And so now, how much do I speak into this without people thinking that I'm just trying to bring one side of the conversation?
Mhm.
Um, but again, you run the risk of offending people. And if you know that God has called you to something, and you do it in a way that is not overbearing and not um, dismissive of others, you just have to follow your conviction.
Mhm.
That's right.
So continue to lead. That's one thing. And then I think Christ Community Church now, we've enjoyed this diversity in our body for a number of years now. But I believe that now we must now become an example for other churches,
Mhm.
Mm.
and help other churches by not only just doing doing our services in the four walls of our church, but when opportunity
Mhm.
presents itself, be a visible presence outside of our church. So
Right.
I hope that answers that question for you.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
good, Pastor Derek. I love it. And I know I come from a sports background, played sports my whole life, multiple sports. And one of the things I've always known about coaches is that you can tell how good a coach is by the way his players speak about him or her.
Hmm.
And I would just go on record to say that uh, your team is behind you. Like we don't ever feel, and I'll speak mainly for myself, but I've talked to other people on our staff. We don't feel like you are using any agenda but the word and honesty and integrity to stand behind this issue. And so I just want to go on record and say we are behind you and for you because you're leading with the heart of God and not just the heart of Pastor Derek.
Well,
Um,
appreciate that.
so yes, sir. And the final question we had was, what do you feel is something tangible that we as individuals um, can do to listen and to hear our African American brothers and sisters? So we kind of started at a global church level. Then we said, here's what we can do as a church body. But what as individuals, what should we be doing right now? Um,
Yeah. I'm going to give you something to do, and then I'm going to suggest something that maybe you should not do.
okay,
Is that all right?
yeah, I like it. Yeah,
Let me start with what you should not do.
okay,
This is my suggestion. This is my suggestion. Don't fight your battles on social media.
mm,
That's
bingo.
right.
Um, I I got off of Facebook for a while, for a season, especially when I first took over as lead pastor. Lord just led me to you need to put that down. You need to leave that alone. So I I got went off. I couldn't just not go to it. I had to just take it off my phone, take it off my computer. Facebook went out, Instagram went out, Twitter went out, and it was a long season for that.
Mm-hmm.
And I recently got back on 2 of the 3. I did not get back on Twitter. But the reason I say that is that there's such potential for comments to be misunderstood and for a lot of passive aggressive behavior to take place on the internet, which does not lead to any type of reconciliation at all.
Right.
So I do, I post some now, and I'll comment from here to there, and I read some of the comments, but I find myself having to say, stop, don't reply to that.
Mm-hmm.
Because a couple of things happen. One is usually you start a conversation that goes south real quick and with no quick way to come to an understanding. 2, you can be labeled unintentionally by what you post, and you're sending a message to people that maybe not what you intended, but it's what they take from it, and it doesn't move the ball down the field. It just keeps us stuck.
Right.
One place. Okay. So that's something I would suggest that we avoid. Don't do. Now, I'm not saying don't post. I'm not saying don't look at Facebook, but just if there's any frustration in you, if there's any anger in you, is there any like how dare could they say that in you?
Mm-hmm.
That's a sign that you probably don't need to hit send.
Right.
Okay.
That's a good word.
That's what I said. So that's what I was, that's above the question you asked me, but I wanted to start there. So let me answer the part about what you can do. What should individuals be doing during this season? And I'm going to really direct this toward my European brothers and sisters, white folks.
Yep. Amen. Amen.
Who are they?
Read things from African American perspective. We have on our website we have created a page that just has some videos that are from various settings that I think you would be very it just brings a lot of good information. One of them is a conversation between Pastor John Gray and Pastor Stephen Furtick that happened 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. Just listen to Pastor John Gray as he shares his heart.
Mm-hmm.
And don't, please don't get all involved in the theology and what kind of church they have. This is a black man and a white man who are just sharing their heart. They're friends and they're just sharing their heart with one another. It's a great conversation. We have another post from Christine Kane, who's very popular in evangelical circles, along with the Dr. Anita Phillips, I believe is her name, who goes. This is a conversation that really dives into a lot of history. She goes into conversation about just what is race. What is race? What's the difference between race and ethnicity? And it's like we get a foundation in which we can now begin to observe and learn things that's going on right now. That was kind of a lengthy one, but I'm telling you, if you listen to that, I could almost assure you that you will learn some things that you did not know, because you don't find them in books. The conversation they were talking about, you're not going to find them in your usual books that you're going to buy. You're not going to find them in a magazine. You're not going to find them on a news channel. The conversation that they have, and they're from a biblical perspective. And the third thing that we have posted is from last Sunday night, a conversation between the bishops of the Free Methodist Church and 5 African American superintendents in our
That is
denomination,
so good.
which now get this, the superintendents did all the talking. Well, one of the bishops introduced everything, and they had a couple of at the beginning, but the majority of this conversation are 5 African American superintendents who talks about their history, talks about what their struggle is, and talks from biblical perspective what should be our response. That one I really recommend. When you go from Dr. Amelia Cleveland Traylor to Dr. Michael Traylor to Robert Marshall to Fraser Venter, there was some rich insight that is shared that I don't think most white people have heard. And this will be a way you can listen to it in silence without the other noises going around. And you can just listen to it. And I'm telling you, you will learn some things that will change, that will inform you and maybe help you get a perspective that you might have had before.
Yeah, that's good.
So those are things that as individuals, people could do. Of course, there's a lot of books and articles and everything out there, but for those that listen to Pursuit Table Talk, a lot of times we need to see conversations, see the people, and that's why I would just take time and just listen. And a good thing about that is you listening. You're not doing a lot of talking here.
That's right.
And I have one more thing to add to it.
Go ahead.
One more thing. Another thing we do as individuals. Let me see if I can say this. I've heard this conversation a lot. George Floyd, for example. Well, he was. Yeah, it's a shame that happened to him, and it was wrong that happened to him. But that right there is the problem. People that you see protesting, for the most part, it starts out where, that was wrong. It should not have happened, and we need to do something about it. As an individual, let our response be, yes, it was wrong. Yes, it should not have happened. And yes, we need to do something about this. And avoid saying, but. And the buts I've heard is, but he was not a nice man. But he had drugs in his system. But the what about black on black crime? But nobody ever talks about. Just resist that temptation to do that, because when you say but, you've erased everything that preceded it. And to those who are crying out, I can't breathe, please take your knee off my neck. They're just asking for people to hear them, and you can start hearing them. But then when you say but, you just sent a message. But what you said doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I think our theology of but comes out of our inability to understand the theology of lament. We've lost that in today's microwave culture, where we can voice our opinion by just picking up our phone and and we can put our opinion out there, and we speak first instead of listen first. And that, I think that's where that comes from. And it's sad, because you're absolutely right. We should be listening and stop saying, but this, but nothing. Let's just listen and lament for a while that a man lost his life and another person took it. I mean, it tragic.
Yeah.
And so we need to just listen and lament instead of trying to explain it away. I love that. That's a great word, Pastor Derek. And I have not seen the Christine Caine, Dr. Phillips interview. I want to watch that one. I haven't seen that one. I did see the John Gray interview. Is really good. I guess it's more of a conversation. It's not really an interview.
CCClive.org.
Yep. See, that's right. CCClive.org. You can see all those.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
And
Or
then
download.
there's a short little article that I wrote for Life and Light magazine. That's
mhm.
there as well. Doesn't
Okay.
compare to the other ones that I mentioned, but it's an article that I wrote that maybe would to shine a little light on the subject as well.
Yeah. Amen. So go to ccclive.org and you can find all that, or you can download our app, Christ Community GA, because we're in Columbus, Georgia. You can download our app and see all that information as well. So, well, Pastor Derek, we really appreciate you giving us your time and your wisdom, and your insight. We love having you around. We love having you as our lead pastor. So, I see Miss Andrea back there through the window. Hi, Miss Andrea. Um, so we love having you with us, Pastor Derek.
Around here. Let me get her in the shot.
Yeah, Miss Andrea for sure could be in the shot.
Yeah.
She's
She's like, no.
should pretty up that little window. Hi, Miss Andrea.
Yeah.
I
Good to
just
see you.
busted in here. He's like, shh.
That's okay.
Okay.
Our dog usually hijacks the show anyway. He usually comes in and starts barking or whatever. I don't even know.
Okay.
All
Thank
right.
you, Miss Andrea. All right, Pastor Derek, I appreciate you, sir.
Hey.
Thank you for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
And we will see
All right.
you tomorrow in the office.
All right then.
All right, man. See
care.
you.
All right now. Peace out.
Bye. That was good. Pastor
stuff.
Derek. I love Pastor Derek. Yeah, such good wisdom. And if you can get any of those resources, there's another resource out there. If you're listening, the book Beyond Colorblind. It's really good. It's by Sarah Shin. It's kind of hard to say. Sarah Shin, SHIN, and it's called Beyond Colorblind. It takes on this idea that we always say, "Well, I don't see color," when that's the wrong position to take. We should see color. We should celebrate color. We should celebrate the diversity of God's creation, because He created it in diverse for a reason, and we should celebrate that and not just say, "Oh, I don't see color." We should see color and we should embrace it and love it, because that's how God created us. And so that's another good resource out there. There's a book, Beyond Colorblind. That's one that I'm picking up that I just ordered so I can read it. And so we want to close the show today with a little bit of fun. I know it's been a heavy show, lots of stuff to process, but I want to ask one of our things we often do in our show is we have a fun question at the end to kind of close the show. And so I want to ask this question. Kristen doesn't know what's coming. Usually our other hosts don't know what's coming. I just kind of spring it on them, and it's just fun to watch their faces go, "I don't know." And so this one, we usually play something like, you can keep only one, or you can have only one, or this, I'm going to say, you are stranded on an island. All right. You're stranded on an island, trapped on an island, and you can have the complete anthology, the complete works of 3 different people. One has to be an author. One has to be a director.
Of what?
So they made the movies.
Okay.
And one has to be a band. But that's all you can have on the island is the complete anthology of those 3 things. One author, one director, one band. And so, who would you take if you could only have one author, one band, and one director, and you're stranded on an island forever? Until I build a raft out of palm trees and float away. So who would you have? One. Okay, let's do it the easy way. Who's the author that you would have? One author. I know who I would have. Easy.
J.K. Rowling.
Yes, that's the easy one for me, because I would have J.K. Rowling too. I would take the whole Harry Potter series and just continue to read it over and over and over and over again.
And there are really good authors that I do enjoy, but I think I enjoy
for sure.
her writing the most.
For sure, yeah.
For entertainment, I mean, you're going to be on an island. You need something entertaining. So
I want to just go out on a limb here and say I've probably read Harry Potter more than I've read anything else in my life.
And that's a
before,
good book.
before I read Harry Potter, I don't think I'd ever read like a complete series of books in my life.
Hmm,
And I read those. So
I have.
that's got to be my answer. And I'm going to go out on another limb and say, I'm pretty sure I've never read another series since. Like, it's the only book of series I've ever read in my life.
Yeah, I definitely
Now, I
have.
do read a lot of books, but they're usually like for my school. Like I have this big stack of books on my desk right now that I'm in the process of reading, and these over here that I have to do homework with tonight. So, yeah. So I read a lot, but not those kinds of books. So yes, I would take J.K. Rowling. But what about a band or an
I was
artist?
ready for that one.
You could take their whole anthology. Who would it be?
A band, not a person.
It could be a person, band, whatever.
Michael Jackson.
Ooh, that's a good one. I'm trying to think of like who has a lot of music out there.
/ Prince.
You can't take Slash. It can only be one.
I mean, they're kind of the same.
No, don't say that. That's
I mean,
blasphemy.
they're not the same, but they're talent-wise. Like they're yes. Michael Jackson came to mind first, so I will.
Okay, I'm taking New Edition. That's it. I know. That means I get Bobby. That means I get Ralph. That means I get Robert DeVoe. That means I get
They
Johnny.
never get along. So
That
good.
means I get all.
They're
So
all
but I get to take all the stuff they've already made, so I think I'm good for a while.
okay.
And that's my jam. So I'm taking New Edition. So I get Belle DeVoe. I get Bobby. I get Johnny. I get Ralph. I get Heads of State. I get that whole crew. So I'm good with that. Good. Now what about director?
Jon Favreau.
Oh, I never thought about that one. That's a good one. That's
Yeah.
a good one.
Answer sometimes.
You're getting a lot of good stuff with
I
that one.
I know.
That's pretty good.
He's
That's
awesome
a good. That's
There
a good one.
out there though that you can.
There's what?
There's still some good ones out there.
Yeah, I'm probably taking somebody like a Martin Scorsese just because he has a lot of different stuff out there. I like some of his stuff. Robert Zemeckis, maybe he's got a lot of good stuff out there because he did Goonies, he did Ghostbusters.
Yeah. Howard.
Oh, that one. Yeah, I'm taking Ron Howard. I think.
James Cameron.
No.
Okay.
No, maybe it'd probably be.
And the Titanic and
I'd probably go Robert Zemeckis. I'm gonna say Robert Zemeckis.
Robert Zemeckis.
Yeah, boom. That's
Okay.
what I'm saying. He did Back to the Future. He did Ghostbusters, Goonies. If I'm right, I think he did those.
Well, because with Jon Favreau, I not only get movies, but I get his cooking talent.
Yeah, you don't get to take him with you. You just get to take his stuff.
But he has a great cooking show.
Oh my Lord, I know he does. I don't know if he directed those though, but I'll let you take them since you're cute.
I think
he might have. He might have.
he did. I think that was his thing.
Yeah, maybe. All right. Well, that was it. That's Pursuit Table Talk today. I just want to end tonight by saying thank you to all the people who listen to our show.
Yes.
Because of all you guys across all the platforms. Pursuit Table Talk only has 47 episodes out. And out of our 47 episodes, we have 6,000 downloads, which is pretty impressive.
That's crazy.
That's more than 1,000 downloads an episode, which is very cool. I just want to thank you guys for that. Thank you for sticking with us. I know we took like an 18-month hiatus, but we are back. And Evan is going to be with us next week. He just sent me a text. I don't know if you saw it.
I saw it.
He said, "Hey guys, I'm so sorry. I laid down for a nap and set an alarm, but never woke up." I'm glad he did wake up, and I'm glad he texted me. I thought he got abducted by aliens or something.
I know.
But yeah, he is. Evan's got a lot going on, so I forgive him for sure.
Well, his job
He's
is
got
crazy.
a job that he gets up in the morning at 3 a.m. and goes to work. So I forgive Evan. He'll be back with us next week for sure. We'll probably have a special guest next week. Special guest host next week with us. So there'll be 4 of us to talk about the stuff. And so you won't just have to deal with the Hofers.
Just stuff.
And also next week, our guest on the show is going to be Pastor Nick Cash. And
Yeah.
we're going to talk about family ministry. Pastor Nick just got his doctorate in family ministry, and he wrote a really cool dissertation on family discipleship and how that comes together. And so next week, we're going to talk a lot about family discipleship. Pastor Nick will give us some real cool, he's very practical stuff he gives away. He's written a family devotional that he gives away that we'll talk about. He has a blog called Like Trees Planted. And so all that stuff we'll talk about next week. Pastor Nick will be our guest. And so, man, I really love doing this.
You are.
Oh, sing it, baby. I really love doing this. I really love the fact that I get to do it with my wife here. And
On my own screen this time.
on your own screen, in your own space, in your own computer.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I love y'all. Thanks for joining us. There's nothing you can do about it. And for Pursuit Table Talk, I'm Pastor Mike Hofer,
I'm Kristen Hofer.
and we out.